This ain't your neighborhood. People like you don't wear badges. His voice cuts through the air. Show me a real badge. Tiana doesn't blink. She watches him, silent. He mistakes silence for fear. Good, he says. You're learning your place. And that, right there, is where the story could have ended for most people. The part where they get cuffed, booked, disrespected, processed, and maybe, if they're lucky, released 2 days later with charges dropped quietly so the department doesn't have to explain them. But this isn't most people. Tiana finally speaks. Officer Hanlon, are you sure you want to continue with this detainment? He laughs. You don't get to ask me questions. I wasn't asking, she says. I was giving you a chance to reconsider before official review. He blinks. That wasn't the tone he expected. Not trembling. Not pleading. Not confused, just measured. Precise. Like someone who knows the ending before he even understands the plot. Review by who? He asks. She doesn't answer. Instead, she watches him pat the outside of her door like he's tapping ownership into metal. And that's when the second unit pulls in. Same department, same uniform, same assumptions. Hanlon signals to them with a thumb. Fraud situation, possible federal impersonation. She presented. Tiana interrupts, polite but firm. Did you verify the badge number? He raises a hand, dismissive. Ma'am, you're not speaking right now. You're being processed. You are required to verify before seizure, she says, still calm. Policy 7.4.1. You've already violated chain of evidence. The second officer pauses. That policy number means something to him. Hanlon notices, snaps. Don't worry about her. She's bluffing. But the second officer now looks more carefully at her. Her posture, her eyes, her absolute lack of panic. Sir, Tiana says, locking on to the second officer, if you don't verify the ID, you will be added to the same audit report he will be named in. It's not a threat, it's a fact, and only someone inside the system would phrase it that way. Hanlon scoffs. Lady, the only report you're going to be part of is the arrest log. Then comes the line he shouldn't have said out loud. You really thought flashing a badge would make people forget what you are? Phones catch that. Mics catch that. And his body cam, which he repositioned earlier to avoid recording her face, still caught the audio. Tiana finally moves her hand, slowly, deliberately, and opens her wallet. Not the small ID one from earlier, the other one. The one with the weight of federal steel in it. The one with the raised seal, audit number, and blue stripe reserved for Internal Affairs Division. She holds it just high enough for the cameras, not high enough for him. You wanted a real badge, she says softly. He leans in, ready to mock again. That's when she tilts it, just enough for him to see the words. Internal Affairs Division. Oversight and Misconduct Review. His face changes before he can stop it. His breath catches. His jaw locks the way a man locks a door too late. You, he mutters, stepping back. No, that's not, she finishes the sentence for him. Real, verified? Authorized access to personnel records including yours? Silence. The second officer steps back too. He knows what that badge means. He knows the authority it carries. Hanlon's voice drops to a whisper. Why didn't you say anything earlier? Because I wanted to see how far you'd go without truth, she says. Now I know. For 22:19 p.m., 5 minutes and 41 seconds into the stop. Long enough for misconduct to become evidence. Long enough for a false narrative to become a documented pattern. Long enough for the cameras to turn from bystanders into witnesses. But this is only the beginning. Because Internal Affairs doesn't just care about one violation. They care about patterns. 6 prior complaints, 3 informal settlements, 1 body cam malfunction that didn't malfunction, and now, a real-time misconduct capture with 4 independent phone recordings, 1 courthouse camera, and his own body mic, and the receipts. They're already sinking to the cloud. Hanlon's hand slowly leaves his holster, like the badge in front of him is rewiring his brain in real time. The confidence drains, but not the anger. Men like him don't fear being wrong. They fear being caught. Why didn't dispatch flag this? He mutters, trying to rebuild control. Why wasn't I notified someone from IA was on site? You were, Tiana says. You just didn't check the system. The alert hit your terminal 49 seconds after the stop. You ignored it. The second officer looks toward the cruiser, the screen still on the dispatch page. She's right, Rick, it's in there. IA inspector at courthouse clearance. He scrolls and then, quietly, reads the rest. Do not detain. Do not obstruct. Mandatory courtesy protocol. Protocol he just violated on camera. Phones are still recording. People are whispering now, not laughing. One woman near the steps says, "Oh, he's done." Another replies, "He doesn't even know how done he is." Hanlon tries to recover. "Look, ma'am, I wasn't aware of—" "You were aware," she says. "You just didn't care." Her voice is even, not angry. "That makes it worse. Calmness is what guilty men fear most. Anger they can dismiss. Calmness sounds like evidence being written. You need to return my ID," she continues, "before this becomes evidence tampering." He hesitates, a full 3 seconds, calculating whether handing it back feels like defeat. It doesn't matter what he chooses. The camera's already captured the moment he took it without verification. The timestamp shows 4:18:07 p.m. He finally hands it back, suddenly aware of how exposed he is. "Listen, this doesn't have to turn into something big. It already has," she says. "The moment you fabricated the reason for the stop, this crossed from misconduct to falsification of report. That's Penal Code 118.1. His eyes flicker. "He knows that number. That's a felony," she adds, just as he said to her. The second officer steps back even farther, instinctively. Proximity to misconduct is proximity to investigation. "You can't talk to me like I'm a criminal," Hanlon snaps, trying to get his authority back. "You're not a criminal," she says. "Not yet. That's why I'm documenting before the report escalates." He opens his mouth. But she speaks first, not loud, but surgically precise. "You are currently being recorded by 4 civilians. 1 courthouse security feed, your own body mic. And this interaction has already triggered the chain of custody auto-upload." His jaw tightens. He knows he can't shut off any of that. He knows the cloud server doesn't care about rank, tone, or ego. "And just so you understand the math," she continues, "your name appearing in an internal affairs audit for the 7th time in 9 years is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. There it is. The word that ruins officers faster than accusations ever could. Pattern. Patterns get departments sued. Patterns get oversight hearings. Patterns get DOJ involvement. Patterns get pensions revoked. You don't have cause to open an investigation," he says, voice shaking now. "I don't need cause," she says. "You provided it." He takes a step toward her car, not aggressive, just desperate. "Look, let's just reset this." "No harm done. I'll write a non-action stop log. You go your way, we call it a misunderstanding." "There is body cam audio of you denying my credentials," she reminds him. "There is video of you insulting me based on appearance. There is footage of you violating verification protocol. That's not a misunderstanding. That's documentation." The second unit finally speaks, voice low. "Rick, we need to call a supervisor." "No," Hanlon snaps. "Nobody's calling anyone. I'm handling this." "No," Tiana says. "You're not." She takes out her phone. Not to record, but to open a secure contact page. 1 button. Internal Affairs Live Intake. Emergency Misconduct Notification. She presses it. A tone sounds from Hanlon's radio unit. Dispatch. Unit 37, be advised, IA oversight has been activated on your stop. All involved officers are now under review. Stand by for command directive. It's like the air itself shifts. He looks at her the way a man looks at a judge he didn't know was in the room. "You just flagged the whole department?" he asks, disbelief turning into something uglier. "Over a simple stop?" "There's no such thing as a simple stop when the truth is optional," she replies. A courthouse guard walks out, sees the IA badge, and nods respectfully. The power balance has flipped completely, and no volume, no gun, no posture can flip it back. "You don't understand what you're doing," Hanlon says. "I've been on this job 14 years. 14 years, she interrupts. 6 excessive force complaints. 3 settlements. 1 video suppression attempt. And now a falsified detainment. Length of service doesn't cancel record of harm," he freezes. "Because every number she said was correct." She continues, "I'm not here because of who you stopped. I'm here because of how many people you've stopped the same way, and that is the first time he realizes she wasn't just doing an errand at the courthouse. She was watching him, not today, for months. The second unit looks at her like she's a bomb that hasn't gone off yet. "Inspector Brooks," he says carefully, "what happens now?" She answers like she's reading from the next chapter of his life. "Your department will receive a preservation order in the next 12 minutes. All footage connected to Officer Hanlon will be frozen for review. IA will review every stop he made in the past 18 months. The district attorney's office will receive the preliminary audit. Then, with quiet finality. And this stop will be Exhibit A." Hanlon swallows. "Hard. You can't ruin my career over this." "I'm not ruining your career," she says. "I'm revealing it." She reaches into the passenger seat and lifts a sealed evidence envelope labeled Resubmission, Court Order 11C. It contains printed copies of 3 prior complaints, all dismissed as unverified because of camera issues. Not anymore. The cloud server already synced the footage that proves the pattern wasn't a rumor. It was a system. A security guard approaches Hanlon, speaking softly. "Command just radioed. You're being placed on administrative hold. They said don't leave the scene." His silence is finally real. The people watching don't cheer. They don't clap. They just breathe differently, the way a community breathes when fear breaks for the first time. Tiana closes her door. "This isn't personal," she says. "It's procedural. You created the paperwork. I'm just filing it." She drives off, leaving the scene not as a rescued victim, but as the quiet architect of his downfall. 4:17 p.m. The courthouse parking lot still smells like hot asphalt and old paperwork. Officer Rick Hanlon plants himself in front of the driver's door, palm resting on his duty belt like it's a throne. His voice carries before his badge does. "Don't play dress-up with me," he says, chin tilted, sunglasses never moving. "You people flash fake badges all the time. Let's see a real one before I call this in." Tiana Brooks doesn't blink. She keeps both hands where he can see them, not because she's scared, because she's studied exactly how men like him write the report later. She's dressed like any young black professional. Blazer, slacks, courthouse folder tucked under her arm. That's all it takes for him to decide she doesn't belong here. You feel the shift already, don't you? The kind where the person with the loudest voice thinks they've already won. Hanlon taps the radio mic on his shoulder, not transmitting, just flexing. "What's the matter? Lost the prop you ordered online? I'll give you 10 seconds he doesn't count." He never planned to. His version of a countdown is intimidation. A nearby light pole holds parking lot cam number 03, red standby LED blinking, timestamp 16/17/42. It sees them both. But Hanlon assumes she doesn't know that. He also assumes she hasn't already filed a camera preservation notice under Rule 804B on her phone at 16/16/09, 63 seconds ago. That's the thing about power. The people who abuse it think no one else understands the paperwork. "Ma'am, if you don't produce identification, I'm detaining you for impersonation. Penal Code Section 538D, he says, quoting the law the same way a child quotes a menu they can't pronounce. Calm, practiced, public-friendly. He doesn't mention the part of the same statute that requires reasonable, articulable suspicion. He never does. 6 prior complaints in 8 years, all closed as insufficient evidence, because every time the footage malfunctioned between 0017 and 0029 seconds, a pattern internal affairs flagged, but never acted on. Until today. "Officer Hanlon," she says softly, already knowing his name from the IA watchlist database. The way she says it makes him flinch. "Oh, so now we're on a first-name basis?" Cute. He steps closer. "Show me a real badge, or step away from the vehicle." Last warning. There it is. The line that seals his fate. Tiana reaches into her inner jacket pocket slowly, deliberately. Palms open first, because she's done this dance in too many parking lots, Too many hallways, too many random checks. She pulls out a leather holder and opens it. Not a local police badge, not a prop. Internal Affairs Division, State Oversight Bureau. Inspector, Tiana R. Brooks, Authority under Government Code, Section 3304F, clear as daylight. Hanlon laughs once, sharp and dismissive, like the badge is a magic trick he's already solved. That's cute. You got that off a printer. You want to try again? Show me a real badge. The silence after that sentence is the last oxygen he gets. Camera 3 just logged your refusal, she says. And body cam unit 27 should be recording per policy 5111, mandatory activation during investigative stops. But it isn't. Again, his sunglasses finally tilt. How do you... You turned it off at 16:16:51. Same time you did in complaint number 3472, and complaint number 3559, and number 3621. 6 complaints, 3 settlements, $187,000 of taxpayer money paid for conduct you called miscommunication. A man 2 cars away pretends he's still unlocking his trunk, but his phone is already vertical. A woman near the main steps pauses mid-conversation. It doesn't take a crowd, just 2 witnesses and 1 camera that doesn't blink. This is the point where some people double down and some collapse. Hanlon? He doubles down. You think some file folder and a fake badge put you above me? His hand shifts on the holster. I said, show me a real one. She doesn't raise her voice. She just raises the second badge. State Attorney General, Commissioned I, a Enforcement Unit, Field Authority. That is the badge patrol officers don't see unless something is already over. I'm not here to be above you, she says. I'm here because no one has been below you. The radio on his shoulder crackles first, then the panic shows up in his eyes. The dispatch channel he thought was quiet is suddenly active. Unit 14, be advised. Command is en route. Hold position and do not detain the inspector. Internal Affairs doesn't say inspector over open channels unless the case file is already signed. At 16:19:08, body cam number 27 auto-activates remotely by supervisor override. Every word he speaks now is cloud-mirrored to the AG server under chain ID number 884920T. No more malfunctions. She hands him a packet. Notice of compelled interview, evidence summary, policy violation, log 6 years, request for emergency suspension under Government Code, Section 3304D. He stares like it's written in another language, because for him, it is. You're under administrative detainment pending review, she says. You are not under arrest. Yet viewers always ask, why do the bad guys never panic early? Because they think they can still flip the story. Look, this is harassment, he says loudly, speaking to the bystanders now. She's trying to frame me. I was doing my job. Your job doesn't include disabling body cams, targeting black drivers at 3.7 times department average, or filing 24 traffic stops by race without matching dash cam logs. That's the moment the second cruiser arrives, not with backup for him, but with 2 internal affairs liaisons from Division 2. Hanlon's face drops when he sees the patches. Unit 14, place your weapon on the hood, the senior agent says. By policy, you will not be cuffed, but you will comply. He hesitates 3 seconds too long. That becomes a charge. Failure to comply with lawful oversight order, Class D misdemeanor. At 16:22:11, his gun hits the hood. At 16:22:19, his badge hits next. At 16:22:44, his suspension status updates on the public database. Instant karma? It's never instant. It just looks instant the day the receipts run out. Tiana doesn't smirk, doesn't celebrate. She just exhales. Years of watching people like him walk away with insufficient evidence, finally reversing. The civilian woman by the steps closer. Ma'am, are you okay? Tiana nods. I'm fine. I just had to let the system watch itself for once. Later, the department releases the usual statement. We take allegations seriously. But the letters matter less than the math. 6 years, 58 racial profiling complaints under his squad, one officer finally removed 2 new reforms triggered, auto cam override plus bias audit requirement every 90 days. When the story hits the news, they cut the beginning and keep the ending because accountability plays better than racism on cable. But you saw the whole thing. You saw how calm doesn't mean weak and power doesn't mean loud. The next week, the AG's office issues a $14,600 restitution credit to Tiana for unlawful detainment and procedural obstruction per Civic Redress Statute Section 12B. She donates it to the Youth Legal Literacy Fund in the same district Hanlon used to patrol. The irony is quiet but sharp. She walks back to her car, no lights, no escort, no speech. Just dignity restored in the same place it was challenged. Because the point was never the badge. It was who people think deserves to wear one. And now the ripple, Policy 5111 will update statewide next quarter. Body cams must auto-upload every 30 seconds. Officer cannot disable them manually. And footage deletion requires 2 civilian signatures, not 1 supervisor. That's how change looks. Not loud, not overnight, but undeniable. If you're still watching, ask yourself one thing. Why does dignity still feel like something people have to prove? Share this if you believe rights shouldn't depend on who's holding the flashlight. 2 days later, the fluorescent lights of the Internal Affairs Division flicker over a polished conference table. The hum of computers, muted phone calls, and the faint scent of coffee fill the air. Tiana Brooks leans over a stack of printouts, her fingers tracing dates, timestamps, and complaint numbers. She hasn't slept properly. Her niece's question, "Why do police treat us different?" replays in her mind like a relentless echo. Every detail, every line on the spreadsheets is now personal. "Look at this," she snaps, throwing a folder toward a Captain Ramirez. 6 complaints over 8 years, every single one dismissed because the footage conveniently malfunctioned. And now Rick Hanlon is back on patrol, walking free. Ramirez adjusts his glasses. You knew this might happen. Retaliation is inevitable. But you have the evidence locked. Chain of custody, timestamps, camera logs, every angle documented. The department can't ignore it. Tiana slams her hand onto the table. I'm not just fighting policy. I'm fighting a pattern of targeting black drivers, civilians who have no recourse, and now, him smirking like the law is his playground. How do I explain to my niece that people in uniform can weaponize justice against the very people they're supposed to protect? Her voice trembles, sharp with emotion, but controlled enough not to give the officers around her leverage. Ramirez nods silently, sensing her fire. They've both walked this path before. Legal justice is slow, and people like Hanlon are patient predators. At 9:24 a.m., Tiana taps the FOIA cloud server. Bodycam Unit 27 footage from the courthouse stop 2 days ago appears, but it's incomplete. The first 14 seconds are corrupted. She grips her coffee cup tightly. This is no accident. Hanlon is already testing the system, and the blue wall of silence isn't far behind. Cam number 03 and parking lot footage 16-17-42 remain intact, but she knows the department's internal resistance is real. Someone may try to suppress the most incriminating angles. By 9:37 a.m., she emails a secure copy to civil rights attorney Maya Reyes, a sharp, no-nonsense litigator with a history of taking on police misconduct cases. I need someone who won't blink. This is bigger than just one officer, Tiana types, hitting send. The small notification chime seems louder than it should, as if the system itself is holding its breath. Meanwhile, a media van rolls past the building. A reporter's lens briefly catches Tiana's reflection in the glass door. She's aware of it, but doesn't flinch. Her niece had told her weeks ago, "Auntie, show me the truth even if it hurts." Every glare, every whispered threat is now fuel for the case. At 10:02 a.m., Ramirez brings in the official complaint logs. The statistics are stark. 58 stops over 6 years disproportionately targeting black civilians. 3 settlements totaling $187,000 paid for misconduct. Body cam malfunctions in 42% of these incidents. Each number feels like a brick in a wall Tiana must tear down. She flips to her notes on Policy 5-111, mandatory body cam activation, and notices where Hanlon systematically bypassed it. Every gap is a surgical strike in her case narrative. By 10:45 a.m., word reaches IA that Hanlon filed a counter-complaint. He claims he was verbally harassed and intimidated by Tiana during the courthouse incident. It's a classic maneuver to muddy the waters. Tiana slams her hand on the folder. Of course. He's trying to rewrite the story before it even starts circulating. Ramirez leans in. You need to be careful. They'll push for an internal review of your conduct to undermine your credibility. Expect obstruction. Tiana exhales sharply. She's aware, but she doesn't let fear dictate her tone. Instead, she calls Maya on a secure line. I need a strategy, Tiana says, voice taut but precise. He's using the system as a weapon, not as a check. I want preemptive FOIA requests, official preservation orders, everything. His allies in the department won't hesitate, Maya responds firmly. I've got your back. We'll document every interaction, every email, every camera feed. Public records will speak louder than his words. And once the media sees a coherent, verified timeline, his defense collapses. Tiana sits back, rubbing her temples. At 11:12 a.m., a junior IA officer knocks and hands her a file. It's an anonymous tip. Hanlon has been speaking to a local precinct, subtly warning officers not to cooperate with internal investigations. The note is chilling. Watch your back, Brooks. The cameras won't protect you forever. Her hands tremble slightly, but her voice cuts through the tension. Then we document that too. Every word, every action. Nothing escapes the record. By 11:45 a.m., the first media report hits online. A brief snippet showing Hanlon's previous settlements, highlighted complaint statistics, and Tiana's involvement. Public attention is rising, and the article hints at systemic bias within the precinct. Tiana watches, sharp-eyed. The niece's words echo. Show me the truth, even if it hurts. It hurts, yes, but it also feels necessary. In the afternoon, she leaves the IA building for a quick lunch run. The street is quiet. She senses someone tailing her. A sedan matching a department-issued vehicle keeps pace. She slows, keeping her eyes on the rearview mirror, and records the license plate. Evidence. Always evidence. It's the modern-day shield, silent and unblinking. Back in her office at 1:03 p.m., Tiana reviews body cam footage from 3 prior stops where Hanlon bypassed activation. She makes meticulous notes, timestamps, vehicle registration numbers, civilian statements, previous FOIA requests, every gap cross-referenced. The numbers are damning. The pattern is clear. Hanlon exploits gaps in the system, targets specific communities, and relies on institutional inertia to protect himself. Back in her office at 1:03 p.m., Tiana reviews body cam footage from 3 prior stops where Hanlon bypassed activation. She makes meticulous notes, timestamps, vehicle registration numbers, civilian statements, previous FOIA requests, every gap cross-referenced. The numbers are damning. The pattern is clear. Hanlon exploits gaps in the system, targets specific communities, and relies on institutional inertia to protect himself. By 2:15 p.m., Tiana receives a secure message from Maya. A volunteer journalist has verified her uploaded footage. They want to run a small segment highlighting the IA's oversight powers and Hanlon's prior misconduct. Tiana feels a pang. This is now public and retaliation could escalate. But the niece's question surfaces again. Why do police treat us different? The answer, when presented clearly, can't be erased. At 2:43 p.m., Hanlon contacts his union rep. The tone is aggressive, defensive, and subtly threatening. "They're trying to ruin my career. Stop them." The rep hesitates, unsure whether to intervene or wait for more legal confirmation. Every delay buys Tiana leverage. Each bureaucratic pause adds a time-stamped record of inaction. By 3:05 p.m., Tiana prepares for her next meeting. A Captain Ramirez, Maya, and a department compliance officer. They review all 27 video angles, timestamps from 16/17/42 to 16/22/44, FOIA submissions, and complaint logs. Each discrepancy is cataloged. Each violation is cross-checked against Policy 5111 and State Oversight Code Section 3304. The room is silent except for occasional paper shuffling. "Retaliation is likely," Ramirez says. "Expect him to escalate verbally and through official channels. He's free, but he's testing limits." Tiana leans forward, hands on the table. Let him test. Every step he takes, every whisper, every complaint, we record. The system cannot fail now. Not for my niece. Not for anyone. Her voice is sharp, emotional, yet calculated. It resonates in the quiet room like a gavel striking wood. By 3:47 p.m., a second tip arrives. Hanlon has contacted a local precinct captain, asking subtly for civilian complaints to be delayed or managed internally. Tiana immediately logs this as potential obstruction. The pattern grows, not just one rogue officer, but the systemic enablement around him. At 4:12 p.m., Tiana posts a secure update to Maya and Ramirez. All evidence backed up, chain of custody verified, public media verification noted. She leans back, breathing heavily. Her hands shake, but her mind is steel. The niece's question echoes again. It's both a challenge and a reminder of purpose. By 4:38 p.m., local news begins covering the story more aggressively. They highlight 3 prior settlements, body cam deactivation, racial profiling pattern, and IA oversight. Social media buzz increases, with clips of Tiana calmly presenting evidence circulating under hashtags like #JusticeWithoutPermission and #IA Accountability. Public pressure begins to mount. At 5:01 p.m., Hanlon drives past Tiana's IA building in a marked cruiser, eyes narrowing, a silent threat in the rear view. Tiana sees him, records his plate, notes the timestamp. Every small gesture becomes a formal record. Every flicker of intimidation adds to the dossier. By 5:27 p.m., IA Captain Ramirez reviews all collected evidence and nods. "Tiana, the pattern is undeniable. Retaliation is documented. Civil Rights Office will review. We have public verification. The next moves are procedural, but they carry real weight." Tiana exhales sharply, voice low but firm. "Then we let procedure speak louder than threats. Let him play his game. Every time he breathes, we're watching." By 5:48 p.m., a secure upload reaches the civil rights attorney Maya. She confirms receipt, double-checks timestamps, and flags potential obstruction reports. The legal foundation is complete. Hanlon is free, but every retaliatory act now adds another layer to his record. The slow burn takedown is set. At 6:10 p.m., Tiana leaves the IA building, finally stepping into evening light. She feels the weight, the pressure, the simmering tension, but also a sense of purpose. Her niece's question is no longer just a haunting echo. It's a guiding principle. Every documented act, every timestamp, every verified report is a small victory in the long pursuit of justice. The city hums around her, unaware of the meticulous accounting happening in real time. The slow burn takedown is underway. Hanlon is still free, still testing limits, but every move he makes is recorded, time-stamped, and logged. Every whispered threat is now evidence. The truth, finally, has a voice. And in her mind, Tiana whispers to herself and to her niece, Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it watches. Sometimes it waits. And when it moves like a tide that cannot be stopped.